how are you guys all doing today? My name is Mirko and welcome back to another Apex tips video. So in today's video we're going to be speaking about aiming tips in Apex Legends. We're going to specifically talk about sensitivity and I'm going to show you guys how you can find your perfect sensitivity. We're going to speak about reaction time and a few other things that will really improve your aim for Season 1. Now before we jump into the tips, if you guys want your comment to be featured in my next video, all you got to do is like the video and comment anything you want down below. It can be a nice comment, it can be a joke, it can be anything you want. And today we have Dylan Murphy who says congrats on 1.5k, keeping the content real, hashtag Mirko does it better. Thanks Dylan, really appreciate the support there. So anyway, onwards and forwards to the video. So we're going to break this up into 3 different sections. We're first going to discuss sensitivity, which we're going to go really in depth with, then going to go into reaction time, which is something I feel like is also really important, and then we're going to talk about minor changes which can really help add to the improvement of your aim, such as control freaks, understanding the recoil of your favourite weapons, all of that good stuff. So let's start with sensitivity. Now sensitivity is probably the #1 reason why thousands, if not millions of players are affected by aim. Especially playing on console, aiming is really hard and you really need to have your perfect sensitivity. Now how do you find that perfect sensitivity and how do you know the sensitivity you're using is the correct sensitivity? Well, this is really simple and this is the method I use in every game I play to understand what sensitivity is best for me. So in this game, the sensitivity ranges from 1 to 9, so you want to start around 4 to 5. Pick 4 to 5, and this is the aim sensitivity we're talking about, not the standard sensitivity. And when you've picked one of them 2 numbers, you want to go into a game and you want to look out for 2 key things when you're aiming. Now the first thing you want to look out for is over aiming. Now what I mean by this is if you're aiming past the enemy, I'll show you an example on screen. I went into a game and I basically chose a sensitivity that was higher to what I currently have, just to show you guys what over aiming is. It's basically aiming past the enemy and basically having too much of a high sensitivity to the point where you keep going past the enemy left and right and you just keep repeating that left and right because you can't actually stay in the middle on target with the enemy. Now if you notice that happening on an often basis, that's when you know your sensitivity needs to be decreased. So just decrease it by 1. If it's still happening, just keep decreasing it until you find yourself not doing that on a consistent basis and you're more staying in the middle on target and not drifting left and right when you see the enemies. So how do you determine if your aim sensitivity is too slow or too low? Well, this is actually really easy as well. So this is basically under aiming. So it's basically you trying to chase the target until you manage to get on point. So for example, if an enemy is running to the right and you're aiming but your target is just slightly to the left of the enemy and you feel like you're not aiming far enough or you feel like you're still trying to chase the sight to lock onto the enemy, that's when you're under aiming and that's when you want to think about increasing that sensitivity. Now this will take quite a few games to get used to, guys, and you'll probably die quite a lot or you'll have a few bad games just because you're trying to test out the sensitivity. But once you do find your perfect sensitivity, it will work out in the long run. I personally use a 4 aiming sensitivity. Now if I was to go to a 5, I would start over aiming. I know for a fact I would. And if I started using 3, I know for a fact I wouldn't be able to lock onto enemies. I would always be remaining that millimeter short of the enemies. So good luck everyone with your sensitivity. I hope you guys do find your perfect sensitivity. These are the best possible tips in order for you guys to do that. So now let's move on to reaction time. Bearing in mind your sensitivity is on point and you feel like your aim is at a really consistent standard. So I haven't seen that many aiming videos talk about reaction time. Now what I mean by reaction time is staying on target when the enemies are strafing or moving around, which really creates a hard target. Now if you do come against a good player in Apex, without a doubt they're going to be strafing or they're going to be moving around to create a really hard target for you to land shots. This is where your reaction time needs to come in really handy because you need to focus on the enemy and you need to really keep your sights locked on to whichever direction they're moving. This is where reaction time comes in because if they're moving a certain direction, you need to react really fast with your sights, and this is really going to help you guys win them gunfights. If you're engaging in a gunfight with an enemy and all of a sudden they start moving to the left, your sights need to go to the left with them and you need to try and make sure you're remaining on target because you don't want to break that aim assist either that we've got, us console players. Now in up close gunfights, this happens quite a lot where enemies move around and they hip fire as well, which means they can also strafe left and right and they can do all sorts of things, and you just need to make sure that your reaction times are faster than their reaction times, and you can really improve on this when you're playing Apex Legends. Practice does make perfect, but the next time you're engaging in a gunfight, just be aware where the opponent is and what direction they're going. Never assume they're going to stay still because probably about 60% of the players actually know what they're doing and they will strafe or they will move around in a direction. It's a shame that you can't practice this unless you actually go into a game of Apex Apex, because in training they have still targets, they don't have any moving targets, which is really annoying and doesn't help you a lot. But the only way you can practice is just keep playing in games. Don't worry about getting the win, just worry about aiming and trying to be on target. So these two things alone, the sensitivity and the reaction time, try and actually stay on target and follow the opponent with your sights, is the two things that will really help you improve and boost your aim. But the next thing we're going to speak about are minor improvements you can adjust in your game to hopefully improve the accuracy further. So I'm going to throw you guys some really quick tips, because as I said, these are minor improvements, but you want to make sure you're listening to these tips. So understanding a recoil pattern of a certain weapon is an absolute crucial. Now, if your favourite weapon is the R99, go into training and actually study the recoil pattern it has, because most of these weapons in this game have the same recoil pattern or nearabouts the same every single time. So you can really learn to adjust the recoil pattern of your favourite weapons. I wouldn't do it with every single weapon in the game, because if you do it with every single weapon, it will take absolutely ages. There's so many weapons, but do it with your favourite ones or the ones that you're likely to pick up in a game of Apex. I'm starting to use the Prowler quite a lot, and I know with that gun, as soon as you shoot it, it literally skyrockets in the air. So I learned to hold my right analog stick down ever so slightly just to maintain recoil of that weapon. You can have the best aiming in the world, but if guns have got a certain type of recoil you're not aware about, that can really put your aim off, even if you generally are good at aiming. The next thing we're going to talk about is tap firing at long range. Now, long range, even if guns don't have hardly any recoil like the Spitfire, if you do have that R2 button or that fire button held down, I can guarantee you guys, you're really not going to get hardly any shots on target, especially at really long range. I would suggest staying calm and just tap firing, try and deal a bit of damage into your opponents, because the likelihood of you downing them whilst literally firing that button non-stop is really unlikely, and it's really not going to do anything better for your aim. I suggest only tap firing at long range, because if you do this at short to medium range, it might be a bit too late and you might not put enough bullets into your opponents. And if you do understand the recoil of your weapon, you don't need to tap fire at short to medium range. Now, the last thing I'm going to speak to you guys about are control freaks. Yes, I'm sure some of you guessed it. Now, the reason why I speak about these is because if I was to take it off and go into a game now, my aim will be absolutely terrible. And these things basically increase the height of your stick to ensure a more wider and accurate aim for your thumb, basically. It's really hard to explain, but loads of people use them. Professional players that play on console use them. I would definitely recommend trying them out. I personally use the CQC Signature Edition, which is the medium height, which is basically in the middle, and that's how I like it. But depending how you guys like it, you might like the higher ones, which is more suited to long range, and the short ones are suited to close quarter combats. But if you're interested in battle royale games, bearing in mind a lot of gunfights happen from medium to long range, that's why I like a medium height, because you can also do well at close range as well. It's basically the standard that a lot of people go for. So anyway guys, I'm going to wrap this video up here. I hope you guys have enjoyed and learned from this aiming tips video in Apex Legends. Bearing in mind season 1 has just come out, I'm sure you guys all want to improve as much as possible. Now, before I do end the video, I'd just like to say some people do have aim that is bad here and there. I mean, everyone is human, you know, not everyone's going to be 100% accurate all of the time. So if your aim is off here and there, it doesn't mean you've got bad aim, it means you're a human. So if your aim is off every now and then, it happens to me, it happens to pro players, it happens to everyone. I wouldn't worry too much as long as it doesn't happen all of the time. So yeah, anyway, thank you all for watching this video. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch all of you guys out in another Apex video. Take care, guys.